but at double the price. Even instant coffee, which typically uses lower grade beans, is expected to see steep price jumps by early April. What can you do? Stock up now. If you have a favourite brand, grab a few extra bags while they're still on shelves. Store them properly. Coffee beans stay fresh for months in the freezer. Just use an airtight container to prevent moisture damage. Consider switching to tea. So far, tea production hasn't been hit nearly as hard this year, but don't wait until your last coffee bag is empty. Restocking won't be an option. Desperate? Try chicory root. It was used as a coffee substitute in past shortages, and it's worth having as a backup. 5. Certain seafood options are about to disappear. Let's talk seafood. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your fish tacos might be in serious trouble. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, just announced the strictest seasonal fishing restrictions in 15 years. These aren't just routine regulations, they're emergency measures to prevent the total collapse of certain fish populations. Scientists monitoring ocean temperatures have found alarming changes in migration patterns. Many fish species are moving into unfamiliar waters, places where traditional fishing methods can't reach them. Wild-caught salmon is first on the chopping block. Alaska's fisheries are cutting permits by 60% in March, citing dangerously low population counts. Expect salmon fillets to vanish from the seafood counters by mid-month. Salmon populations have been declining for years. The Columbia River Basin recorded its lowest salmon return in 3 decades, with only 38% of expected fish making it back to breeding grounds. That's why salmon prices jumped 30% in February alone, and some stores are already limiting purchases to 2 packages per customer. Shrimp prices. Our surging shrimp lovers, things are looking just as bad. Gulf Coast waters rose 3 degrees Fahrenheit above normal this winter, disrupting breeding patterns. A massive shipping container spill off Louisiana in January contaminated key harvesting areas. Shrimp prices have already jumped 40% since February, and suppliers can't keep up with demand. A restaurant owner in New Orleans told me that her supplier warned her to expect shrimp the size of your thumbnail by April, if she can get them at all. Crab is about to become a luxury item. The Pacific Northwest crabbing season just got cut short by 6 weeks. Warming waters are pushing crabs into deeper, harder-to-reach locations. One seafood shop owner in Seattle said he's already been warned that after March 15th, there will be no Dungeness crab shipments. This year's commercial crab catch is down 62% from historical averages, making crab almost impossible for the average consumer to buy. A veteran fisherman put it bluntly, "This is the worst I've seen in 22 years, pulling pots." Lobster rolls are about to get expensive. Maine's lobster industry is struggling due to new trap limits and shorter seasons aimed at protecting declining populations. Insiders predict lobster prices could hit $45 per pound by late March, if you can find it at all. The Gulf of Maine's warming waters are forcing lobsters to migrate northward into Canadian waters. This means higher tariffs and shipping costs, pushing prices even further out of reach for the average consumer. What can you actually still buy? Farm-raised tilapia and catfish should remain stable since they're grown in controlled environments, but feed costs are driving up prices by 10 to 15%. Frozen seafood options will last longer, but prices will climb as people scramble for alternatives. Your best bet? Stock your freezer now, while supplies last. Check international grocery stores. They often source from different supply chains than major supermarkets and might still have stock. This crisis isn't over, and the next few items on our list are just as shocking. Make sure your key. Improvements I made. Checkmark more engaging and urgent tone. Makes viewers feel the urgency of the crisis. Clearer structure and flow. Each section logically follows the previous one. More actionable advice. Gives viewers practical steps they can take. Stronger CTA. Encourages engagement without sounding forced. Rice shortages are here, and they're getting worse. Imagine walking into your grocery store, heading straight for your favourite bag of jasmine or basmati rice, only to find an empty shelf with a small sign that reads, temporarily out of stock. You look around, confused. How can rice, a staple food for billions, suddenly be so hard to find? This isn't just a temporary blip. The world is experiencing one of the most severe rice shortages in decades, and it's affecting everything from grocery store shelves to your favourite restaurant meals. What's causing the crisis? Rice shortages aren't happening because of just one thing. It's a perfect storm of extreme weather. Floods have wiped out entire. Grapefruit is taking an even bigger hit. With 80% of the US supply coming from these affected regions, prices have already jumped 45% since January. One major grocery chain even warned that suppliers can't guarantee deliveries past mid-March. And it's not just about fresh fruit. This crisis is affecting everything from marmalades to flavoured seltzers that use citrus oils. Blood oranges and key limes already disappearing. Last weekend I went to 3 different stores and came back empty-handed. A neighbour who works at a supermarket told me that their store isn't even getting shipments anymore. The few that do arrive, damaged, underripe, and rush to market before they're ready. But the crisis goes even deeper. Vitamin C supplements are now at risk. Most natural vitamin C comes from citrus byproducts, and manufacturers are scrambling to find alternatives. If you rely on vitamin C supplements, stock up now before prices skyrocket. Not everyone will feel the impact immediately. If you live in California or Texas, you might see some local citrus for a bit longer, but expect to pay triple what you did last year. And those small, easy-peel mandarins kids love. Industry reports say supply will completely dry up by the 3rd week of March. School lunch programs are already being told to find alternatives for the spring semester. And here's something most people don't realise. Citrus shortages trigger a domino effect. When people can't find oranges, they turn to apples and berries instead, putting pressure on those supplies too. In fact, berry prices have already climbed 30% in just the last 3 weeks. What can you do? Buy extra lemons, oranges, and grapefruit now. Freeze the juice while you can. Stock up on frozen concentrates. They have a long shelf life. Learn preservation techniques. Some people are salt curing or dehydrating citrus to make it last longer. Save citrus zest in your freezer. It's a game changer for cooking when fresh lemons disappear. I've already started filling a drawer in my freezer with organic lemon zest. Trust me, you'll thank yourself when oranges are selling for $15 a bag next month. 4. Coffee. Your morning cup is in serious trouble. Now, let's talk about coffee. That morning ritual millions of us depend on. It's at risk like never before. Recent reports from the International Coffee Organization show that global coffee production has hit its lowest point in 8 years. Here's why. Brazil, which supplies 40% of the world's coffee, is in crisis. The worst drought in decades has left soil moisture levels at critical lows. Some farms are so dry that young coffee plants aren't surviving at all, which means this shortage could last well beyond 2025. Colombia, another major producer, just suffered devastating floods, wiping out nearly 30% of its crops. Vietnam, the world's largest supplier of Robusta beans, is struggling with massive labour shortages. Over 40,000 workers are missing from farms this season alone, causing beans to rot on the trees. And the biggest problem? Coffee plants are extremely sensitive to temperature changes. Even a 1 to 2 degree shift can dramatically reduce yield and quality. A recent scientific study found that 60% of wild coffee species are now facing extinction due to shifting climate patterns. This isn't just bad for your morning cup. It's devastating for the 125 million people worldwide who depend on coffee farming for their livelihoods. What this means for you. Retailers are already limiting purchases. Many stores now have a 2-bag per customer policy. Starbucks just announced an 18% price increase starting next week. Specialty coffee brands and local roasters are getting hit the hardest. Many are struggling to secure high-quality beans at all. The bottom line, coffee is about to become a lot more expensive and a lot harder to find. Stock up now while prices are still somewhat reasonable. Freeze your beans, buy in bulk, and if you love a specific brand, grab it before it's gone. Key improvements I made: more suspense and emotional impact. Keeps viewers engaged with phrases like, "Your morning ritual is in serious trouble," and "Trust me, you'll thank yourself later." More actionable advice. gives clear, practical solutions viewers can use right now. Better flow and readability. Breaks down complex issues in an easy-to-digest way. Stronger CTA encourages engagement without sounding forced. The coffee crisis deepens. And seafood lovers, brace yourselves. It's not just rising prices. Your favourite coffee beans could completely vanish from store shelves. Small coffee roasters simply can't compete with major corporations when supplies get tight. And the shortage is hitting Arabica beans first. That's the smooth, less bitter coffee most people prefer. Experts predict that by mid-March, many grocery stores will be completely out of premium coffee options. The alternative? Robusta beans. They're stronger, more bitter, and still available for now. The shocking grocery shortages happening right now. Stock up before it's too late. Have you noticed empty shelves at your local grocery store? It's not just your imagination. The world is facing the worst food shortages since 2020, and experts say things are about to get even worse. In just the last 3 months, food prices have skyrocketed by 12%. Shipping delays are at a 5-year high, and container costs have tripled since December. On top of that, extreme weather has devastated crops across major agricultural regions. The result? Some of your favourite grocery staples are vanishing fast, and they might not be restocked anytime soon. In this video, I'll reveal 10 everyday foods that could completely disappear from store shelves before the end of March 2025. These aren't just random guesses, they're based on real inventory reports, supplier warnings, and expert analysis. And trust me, number 7 will shock you. I couldn't believe it myself. Let's dive in before these items are gone for good. 1. Olive oil. If you've been grocery shopping lately, you might have noticed olive oil prices skyrocketing. That's because Spain and Italy, responsible for 60% of the world's olive oil, just suffered their worst harvest in decades. Last summer, heat waves hit record-breaking temperatures of 115 degrees Fahrenheit, literally baking olives on the trees. Then unexpected floods destroyed even more crops in Italy. Farmers are reporting that olive trees are producing fewer and lower quality olives than ever before. As a result, extra virgin olive oil is disappearing the fastest, with prices already up 45% since November. Experts predict another 30% increase by mid-March. What can you do? If you rely on olive oil for cooking, stock up now, especially extra virgin, because that will be the hardest to find. Consider switching to avocado oil for high-heat cooking or walnut oil for salad dressings. But act fast. Once people realise these shortages are real, alternative oils will start vanishing too. 2. Cocoa and chocolate products. Chocolate lovers, brace yourselves. Your favourite treats might not be available soon. Cocoa prices are at an all-time high, with costs surging 78% since last year. Why? West Africa, which produces 70% of the world's cocoa, is in crisis. Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are reporting their worst harvest in decades due to ageing cocoa trees, extreme heat, and a deadly fungal disease called swollen shoot virus. Major brands like Hershey's and Nestlé have already shrunk their chocolate bars while raising prices. That $2 bar from last year? It's now $3.50 and smaller. But here's what stores aren't telling you. By mid-March, many chocolate products will be completely sold out. High-quality dark chocolate, cocoa powder for baking, and special seasonal treats are already being rationed by retailers. One grocery store manager even admitted that some stores are limiting purchases to 2 chocolate items per customer. Your best bet? If you love chocolate, stock up now. Cocoa powder and baking chips store well for months, so grab them while you can. If you need an alternative, carob powder is a great substitute. It tastes similar and comes from a plant that isn't affected by these shortages. 3. Citrus fruits. That morning glass of orange juice? It might become a luxury. Florida's citrus production just hit a 90-year low after 3 massive hurricanes devastated groves last season. According to the USDA's latest report, orange harvests are down 63% compared to last year. The real problem? These storms hit during the critical flowering period, meaning recovery could take years, not months. The biggest shortages will be in fresh oranges, orange juice, lemons and limes, Prices are already soaring, and supplies are running out fast. Some grocery stores are quietly reducing their citrus orders, meaning you might not even see these fruits on the shelves soon. What can you do? If you love fresh orange juice, buy some now and freeze it. Bottled lemon juice is a great alternative for cooking. And if you need a vitamin C boost, consider kiwis or bell peppers, which are still widely available. And that's just the start. Stay tuned as I reveal 7 more grocery items that could disappear by the end of March 2025. If you're finding this information helpful, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss my next update on food shortages and smart prepping tips. Now let's move on to item number 4. The citrus crisis is worse than you think. And coffee lovers, you're next. It's not just Florida facing a citrus shortage. Spain and Italy, 2 of Europe's biggest suppliers, just went through their hottest winter on record. The result? Lemon production has collapsed by nearly 50%. Those bright yellow Meyer lemons you love for baking? They'll be among the first to disappear. Importers are now prioritizing restaurants and commercial buyers over grocery stores, meaning you might still see lemons at your favorite cafe. But your local supermarket, empty bins, are operating at just 72% capacity, down from 88% last year because they can't find enough workers. Declining inventory. Warehouse stocks for certain cuts are down by over 40% compared to last year. Demand is surging. Special occasions, grilling season, and increased consumption of premium cuts are driving shortages even faster. What's disappearing first? Prime ribeye and beef tenderloin. Inventory is down 43%. These will be nearly impossible to find. If you want one, buy and freeze now. Pork shoulder. A slow-cooking favourite, but supply is struggling to meet demand. Warehouse stocks have dropped over 50% in just 8 weeks. Chicken wings. With March Madness and spring gatherings, demand is skyrocketing. While production lags, prices are expected to double by mid-March. What can you do? Choose less popular cuts. Opt for chuck roast pork loin or chicken thighs. They're cheaper and easier to find. Check local butchers. They often source directly from nearby farms, avoiding major supply chain disruptions. Stock up and freeze. If you see a good deal on your favourite cut, buy it now before prices spike further. Don't say I didn't warn you. Meat shortages are about to get real. The time to act is now before grocery store shelves start looking empty. 10. Dairy alternatives are flying off shelves. Here's why. If you're a fan of oat milk, almond milk, or a plant-based cheese, brace yourself. They're disappearing fast. Plant-based dairy sales jumped 27% last quarter, while production simply can't keep up. And now, major shortages are hitting the industry. What's causing the crisis? Factory shutdowns. Several major plant-based milk producers shut down facilities in January due to equipment shortages. The specialized parts needed for their processing machines are backordered until June. Almond milk is hit hardest. California's devastating drought led to a 31% drop in almond yields, the worst harvest in a decade. Oat milk isn't safe either. 3 of the 5 largest oat milk brands have announced they're pausing production of certain flavors to focus on their core varieties. Plant-based yogurts and cheeses are also vanishing. A key European supplier of fermentation cultures suffered contamination issues, leaving major brands scrambling for replacements. What does this mean for you? Expect fewer choices in plant-based dairy aisles. The first to disappear? Organic varieties and specialty flavors. Higher prices are inevitable. With shortages already in motion, expect spikes in oat milk, almond milk, and dairy-free cheeses soon. What can you do? Stock up now. If your favourite dairy alternative is available, grab an extra carton before prices rise. Try different brands. Some smaller or local brands may still have stock when bigger ones struggle. Experiment with DIY options. Making homemade oat milk or almond milk could be a smart backup plan. If you've noticed disappearing dairy alternatives, let me know in the comments. What's your go-to plant-based milk, and how are you adapting? If you depend on dairy alternatives for allergies or dietary needs, stock up now while you still can. Shelf-stable versions are your best bet. Grab them before prices spike or they disappear entirely. Pro tip: ever thought about making your own oat milk? It's easier than you think, and come April, when store shelves are empty, you'll be glad you did. From olive oil to cocoa, citrus to coffee, and even dairy alternatives, these everyday essentials are vanishing fast. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to help you prepare. Stock up smartly on items that your household relies on. Consider alternatives. This might be the perfect time to try new recipes or brands. Stay informed. These shortages won't last forever, but being prepared will save you stress, time, and money. If this video helped you, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical advice on navigating today's crazy grocery landscape. Drop a comment below. What shortages have you already noticed in your area? Let's help each other stay prepared. Stay prepared, shop smart, and I'll see you in the next video. If you've noticed rising berry prices or shortages in your area, drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. Specialty flours are disappearing. Here's what you need to know. Picture this. You're all set to bake your favourite gluten-free bread, or that almond flour banana bread that everyone raves about. You pull out your shopping list, head to the grocery store, and bam! The specialty flour section is practically wiped out. No almond flour. Coconut flour? Overpriced. Even oat flour is getting harder to find. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Why are specialty flours vanishing? It comes down to three major problems. One, supply chain issues. We've been hearing about shipping delays for years, but now extreme weather is making it even worse. Almond flour relies on California's drought-stricken almond farms, which are struggling to produce enough. Coconut flour is imported from tropical regions, where climate change and rising costs are leading to unpredictable supply. 2 wheat shortages are driving up all flour prices. Poor wheat harvests in the US and Ukraine mean higher costs for all flour-based products, including alternative flours. Since traditional flour is getting more expensive, people are switching to specialty flours, driving demand even higher. 3A surge in demand. Specialty flours used to be a niche product for gluten-free eaters and keto followers. Not anymore. More people than ever are choosing grain-free, high-protein, or alternative flours for health reasons. The global specialty flour market is expected to hit $13.25 billion by 2025, growing 10.2% annually. But production isn't keeping up. The result? More people want these flours than there are supplies available, and that means shortages are inevitable. What can you do? Stock up now. If you rely on specialty flours, buy extra before prices climb further. Try alternative options. Cassava flour, sorghum flour, or chickpea flour may still be available. Check bulk stores or online retailers. Sometimes smaller suppliers have stock when major grocery stores don't. Specialty flour was once a budget-friendly alternative, but with these shortages, it's quickly becoming a high-priced luxury. Subscribe for more updates on food shortages, because this is just the beginning. Now let's move on to the next item on our list. Specialty flours, the new grocery gold. If you've noticed empty shelves in the specialty flour aisle, you're not imagining it. Suppliers simply can't keep up with demand. Cassava and chickpea flour, once niche products, have now become baking staples in gluten-free and plant-based diets. But when demand outpaces supply, even the biggest brands struggle to keep their products stocked. Which specialty flours are the hardest to find? Almond flour. California's severe drought has crushed almond production, making this flour more expensive and scarce. Coconut flour. Global shipping delays and rising transportation costs are slowing imports from tropical regions. Oat flour. With clean eating and gluten-free trends on the rise, demand has soared, leading to limited availability. Cassava and chickpea flour. Their growing popularity in vegan and gluten-free diets has outpaced supply, leaving shelves bare. Matcha powder. Yes, even that. Used in trendy baking recipes, matcha is facing shortages too, meaning your matcha lattes and cookies might soon be a rare treat. How to stay ahead of the shortages? Buy in bulk. If you find your favourite flour in stock, grab an extra bag or two. Most flours store well in airtight containers. Try substitutes. No almond flour. Try hazelnut or sunflower seed flour. No oat flour. Blend rolled oats into powder at home. Look for local suppliers. Instead of relying on big grocery chains, check local mills or farmers markets for alternatives. Order online. Sometimes smaller online retailers still have stock when local stores don't. Keep an eye out for deals. While traditional wheat flour has always been a kitchen staple, specialty flours are quickly becoming just as valuable and just as scarce. With supply chain disruptions, unpredictable harvests, and skyrocketing demand, these shortages aren't going away anytime soon. If you rely on specialty flours, now is the time to stock up before prices climb even higher. Have you noticed these shortages in your area? What's your go-to specialty flour? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just 9. Certain meat cuts are disappearing. Here's why. If you're planning a special meal, listen up. Some of your favourite meat cuts are vanishing fast. Remember when you could walk into any store and grab whatever cut you wanted? Those days are coming to an end. Meat processing costs have jumped 17% since January, forcing small processors to shut down. Just last month, 3 major facilities in the Midwest closed their doors. What's causing the shortages? Red labour shortages. Meat processing plants. Harvests in some areas, while heat waves and droughts have slashed yields by 30% or more in others. Government export restrictions. Some countries are hoarding rice supplies to protect their own populations, leaving importers scrambling. Supply chain. Disruptions, shipping delays and rising costs make rice even harder to get. In 2023 alone, the world saw a global rice shortfall of 8.5 million metric tons, the largest deficit since 2004. That's enough rice to feed the entire US population for a year. India's export ban sent shockwaves worldwide. India, the world's largest rice exporter, has restricted exports multiple times since 2022. July 2023. India banned the export of non-basmati white rice, causing panic in countries heavily dependent on Indian rice. Like the Philippines, Indonesia, and even parts of the US, prices skyrocketed 15 to 20% overnight. September 2024. India lifted part of the ban but set a high minimum export price, making rice far more expensive. Now, many countries simply can't afford the rice they used to import. For example, Yemen is desperately trying to secure 1 million tons of Indian rice to prevent a food crisis. African nations are struggling with sudden price surges due to these trade policies. Even in the US, major grocery stores are seeing rising prices and unpredictable supply. Which rice varieties are most at risk? Not all rice is disappearing at the same rate. Here's what's hardest to find right now. Jasmine and basmati rice, mostly from Thailand, Vietnam, Pakistan and India. These are becoming harder to find due to strict export rules. United States Calrose rice. A US favourite, but California's droughts and water shortages are shrinking supply. Brown rice. Since it spoils faster than white rice, many producers are prioritising white rice instead. Japanese rice varieties. Japan's extreme heat has damaged crops, forcing the government to promote heat-resistant strains for the future. And the worst part, if climate change continues at this pace, global rice yields could shrink by 15% by 2050. What can you do? If rice is a staple in your home, now is the time to prepare. Stock up on shelf-stable rice while prices are still reasonable. Diversify your pantry with quinoa, barley, or couscous, which aren't as affected. Support sustainable farming. Water-efficient rice. Growing techniques can help stabilise supply in the long run. This rice shortage isn't just a temporary problem, it's a warning sign of deeper food security issues. So the next time you see higher prices on your favourite bag of rice, you'll know exactly why. And if this crisis continues, we might be heading into an era where rice is no longer an affordable staple. Make sure you're subscribed for more updates on this unfolding food crisis, because this is just the beginning. Now let's move on to the next item on our list. Fresh berries are about to become a luxury. Here's why. Remember last spring, when you could grab a pack of strawberries for $3.99 without even thinking twice? Those days are over. In spring 2025, fresh berries are about to become one of the most expensive produce items in your grocery cart. And if you're thinking, wait, why? The answer is a triple threat of climate disasters, labour shortages, and supply chain breakdowns. The climate crisis is hitting berry farms. Hard recent climate data shows wild temperature swings across major berry-growing regions. California's berry belt just experienced its driest winter in 15 years, with rainfall 42% below average, stressing crops before the season even began. Florida's early strawberry crops faced 3 unexpected frost events in January, wiping out 30% of the harvest before it even hit store shelves. Mexico, our backup supplier, is struggling too. Their berry exports, which usually fill the gap in March and April, are down 35% due to severe labour shortages. Many farm workers are moving to higher-paying industries, leaving thousands of acres unharvested. What does this mean for you? Expect eye-watering price hikes. Strawberries are projected to hit $8.99 per pound by mid-March, if you can find them at all. Blueberries? A tiny 6-ounce container could reach $7.50. Organic raspberries? Some major grocery chains are already planning to stop ordering them altogether. One insider at a major supermarket told me they're cutting berry shelf space by 40% for March and April. Instead, they'll fill it with more stable produce options, which means fewer berries for everyone. What can you do? Head to the freezer aisle. Frozen berries are still priced from last season's harvest, but once inventory runs out, expect sharp price hikes. Buy fresh berries now and freeze them at home. Many shoppers are already doing this, and it's a smart move considering what's coming. Check local farmers' markets or greenhouses. You'll pay a premium, but you'll at least have options when mainstream grocers run dry.